Hi everyone. So welcome to the last second class. Let people join, but let's get started with. So yesterday, remember Tanmay did a very good design which overwhelmed a lot of us. But there was something that he had told me he had not yet shared with all of you, which I think he would like to share with all of you today. So there's a good news. Consider it like a first success story of our batch. So Tanmay, can you unmute yourself and talk about it? Tanmay.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. So, the news is that actually I got a job. I'd actually say that's just because of Kirti, because it was a very, so I mean, I didn't expect to, I mean, I was giving interviews, but I didn't expect to have a great feedback that I got from the interviewers, right? So, I'll actually talk about the process, but yeah, I got a job with an early stage startup which is valued at $30 million as of now. So, I mean, it's a great jump, I'd say, to no career. So, yeah, thanks to Kirti. Uh,
Could you
thank you
share
so
your
much.
interview
Yep.
experience, especially of
Yeah.
design? And it's not just because of me, it's like everyone could see your hard work yesterday. So you have done really well. If you could just share your experience of HLD and LLD a bit, I guess it will help others
Sure,
also.
sure, sure. So, Kirti's HLD course, like I came around, so I was actually scrolling Instagram, if I'm not wrong, and I saw Kirti Personi courses, HLD course, and I was like, okay, I mean, I was actually working with a different startup at that point of time, but so due to recession, I was laid off from my previous company. That was Eightfold in February. After that, I started off with my own startup, which didn't work, unfortunately. And post that, with my manager at Eightfold only, I was working in a different startup, right? But so I came around this post and I was like, okay, there's nothing bad in learning new stuff. Let's join the course. So I started off with HLD, and that was the very first time I came around system designs. And I don't know what happened, but the way she teaches, it's just amazing. I just got deeper and deeper into, classes, then taking doubts, understanding different things, banging her head, okay, I didn't understand this, tell me that, and all that stuff. After that, we started off with the LLD, and the first round of interview was actually they gave me a few hours and they gave me a code that they had to implement. So sorry, go ahead.
Can you turn on your camera? It would be great for
Uh,
if
okay,
you
yeah.
if you can.
I'm a split my
Yeah,
camera
otherwise
right
it's
now.
fine. Otherwise it's fine. Yeah.
I just came back from the gym, so yeah. Okay, so what happened was, I think they gave me a task. So since it's a startup, we don't have any coding rounds. What they actually want is that given a task, people are able to implement it. And I was working as a technical lead in the startup, but since it was a startup, I didn't mention that I'm working as a technical lead. I just mentioned that I have 2 years of experience, 2.5 years of experience, or whatnot. And then they gave me a task, and it was week 2 of LLD class, and I was like, okay, I just have to write a script. But I was like, let's make it a bit interesting and let's use the factory design pattern, right? Why not, show the skills that we have? Though it was not a very explicit use case of factory design pattern, but the modularity in the code and all that stuff, when I submitted it, they were actually astonished and they said, this is the best submission we have ever had till date. I'm guessing it's just a startup, so yeah, there were not a lot of submissions, but yeah. Then the entire interview, so there were like 3 rounds and a cultural round. The first round was to get the script ready, so I created an entire repo and all that stuff. And so then we had another round wherein they actually asked me about all the design patterns that I've learned. And so that was, I think, week 2, and we were done with all the design patterns. But I was fairly new to them. But I just told them that I do have my notes. I know these patterns. They did grill me on some patterns, but yeah, that was a good discussion that we had. I
Which
still
design
remember.
patterns did they ask? I'm just curious.
So they started talking about bridge, and then they also talked about adapter design pattern, because that is something that I mentioned that I could have used adapter here as well. So they asked me how would you use that and all that stuff. After that, round 2 was round 3 actually. That was I was not expecting it to go the way it went. So it was a purely LLD and HLD round. So it was a combination of two rounds. It was a good long round, 1.5, 2 hours. And the person who took this round was engineering manager at Google Search. So I was actually, blown off when they introduced me to him, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna screw this up for sure, long time. But then they started talking to me about. They asked me to design an API basically, and also so I combined adapter pattern with that API design. So I did the LLD design of the API system, and I did the LLD design of adapter. So the reason we were talking about API so much is because in the previous company I told them that I have an experience with designing the API frameworks and all that stuff. So that is why they were way more focused on APIs and all that stuff. After that they started grilling me on HLD. So they talked about initially they talked about vertical scaling. How do you scale a system vertically and horizontally? Then they talked about DB scaling, and then they talked about sharding. Then they asked me what are the ways you shard a DB. So I tell them you have ranges and all that stuff. The algorithms that we have in our notes are range based and then index based and all that stuff. Then they asked me, do you know if there are any problems with range based? So they actually wanted me to go to consistent sharding. I did go to consistent sharding. That was a place where I felt okay, now it's time to show off. So I literally drew everything she taught us in class, and then they were like, okay, you have a lot of breadth of knowledge. So yeah, that was it. And then I think I just had a cultural round, and finally I got selected. So yeah, that was the way. But I wasn't expecting it to go this way because I mean they also told me after that that we generally don't do the LD HLD rounds, and we were thinking of hiring you for like SD1 or something, but right now we hired you for a higher position, and that was my luck, I would say. So yeah, thank you. That's all.
It was definitely not luck, Tanmay. And you got more hike than you expected, right? So everyone give a huge
Yeah.
clap for Tanmay. Like he worked really hard. And this is to motivate that I want to hear all of your success stories like this. So last 2 days, let's make sure all our doubts are cleared. Let's discuss a lot more, right? But can I expect all of you to share your success stories like this in coming future on Discord? It's a new startup. I guess a lot of people are asking which company, whatever details you
So we are still in stealth mode. The company is Zania.ai. I'll soon share it over my LinkedIn, but we are still working in stealth mode right now. So you won't find it over internet as of now. So they approached me for the interview on LinkedIn.
see. So the way I guess the interviews happen for startups and for like MNCs is very different. I guess you did not have any DSA round, right?
Yeah, so my DSA was actually combined with the first implementation that they gave me.
The
So
LLD sort of they combined LLD.
yeah. No, not the LLD part. So they were not expecting me to do LLD there, but I did that. That is why they took a step forward to have the LLD round as well.
So it was basically a machine coding round. You showed off LLD, and then you had different
Yeah,
LLD rounds, and you moved up from SD1 to a high position.
correct.
So, guys, so this is another lesson that startups, the interview rounds can be a bit different than the big companies. It's about showing off your knowledge in the correct way, right? So, what was the question in the first round, if you don't mind sharing?
I have shared the GitHub repo actually when I asked you the same thing that are there is there any better way to
Oh,
implement that? But
okay.
that was actually after the round because I wanted to see if I could have done better there. So
Okay, okay. And that's what I was thinking. Oh, so you have done it only during the interview. That's why I was thinking, why have you done only factory? Because I
yeah.
know you know a lot more design patterns, but if it was during the interview, then it
So
makes a
I
lot of
took
sense.
like I so the task was to go through the documentation. It was very first time I was looking at that piece of frameworks, those piece of codes, and then I went to the documentation. I did the design in front of them. I mean it was basically I had a call, then I had like a few hours, and then I had a call. So I did the design and ran through the documentation. I created the code using simple factory and went forward. That was it.
It must be very interesting though, like to design like this, right?
Yeah.
It was not meeting scheduler. What was it? Can you share again?
It was a LangChain document loader. So meeting scheduler, I don't know why people were saying that. So meeting scheduler design was an actual mock interview that I did yesterday. I did not do any preparation beforehand. So it was everything I did was in the class. So like that was the case.
Cool. Okay, let's not ask package and all of those details, guys. It is his job, right? So let's maintain that level of privacy. But cool. Okay, so I guess enough motivation for today. Thank you so much, Tanmay, for sharing. And I will reach out to you for more like video and all of that. But cool. For today, let's get started with the class. Enough motivation for the next 2 days. Yep, last 2 classes. Can I see more motivation? Yes. Okay. So there's another problem that I'm going to give you today, and I want you guys to try solving it. Solve it. Okay. I don't know how to solve it. You will tell me how you're going to solve this question if I give it to you. Okay. So we are designing Uber right now, the classic Uber that we have designed so many times in like different design patterns, right? So we all know that there are different states of any Uber, right? Yes, they can be, say, we have requested for the ride, or say, what other state can be there that driver is assigned? Yep. And then they can be en route. Yes. Everyone agrees with this? Ki they can be different states for Uber rides. Everyone, hello.
Yes, agree.
I want more communication in the chat section also. Yes, thank you. Now, whatever request we get, like for example, we get a request for cancel. Okay. Now, suppose we're getting a request for cancel, we'll have to put the check that if the state is, say, requested, then we'll have to cancel in a particular way, right? Versus if driver is assigned, versus if state is, say, driver assigned, then what we would have to do, we would have to cancel, plus we would have to notify the driver as well. Correct? We would have to do something over here differently. Like obviously we have to update some other places also. Here we are just canceling the request. We don't search anymore. Versus over here we are doing some other stuff also, right? Because we have to notify the driver, and maybe we had created some particular maybe in DB we had updated or something like this. So we have to make more changes over here. Versus if the state is en route. Suppose if it is en route and we want to handle it in a different way. Like for example, we can say that you cannot cancel, or maybe we can say that, some amount will be deducted. So you will deduct the amount. So amount deducted, and then you will notify the driver, and probably you will add to the driver's salary also something, because he was moving, right? So maybe he had already moved, say 10 minutes. So you are supposed to give him something. There might be some logic over there, right? The point is that right now we are getting only the cancel request, and every time we get this request, we have to check that if this is the state, do this, if this is the state, do this, if this is the state, do this. Similarly, if I get another request, say for example, I get request, can you all just mute yourself? There's some disturbance that is happening. Okay, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself, okay? So suppose there is a request to book request. There was earlier cancel request, right? Cancel request. Now there is book request. Now, when you book, again, you will have to check the state. If it is already requested, you will say it is already requested. Or if it is if the driver is assigned, you will do something else. Ideally, you should not get this request, if driver is already assigned, or if it is en route. But if you're getting the request, if there was some error in front end and you're getting this request, how are you going to handle it? You should have the check that if this is the state, what are you going to do? If this is the state, what are you going to do? If this is the state, what are you going to do? Now, I guess all of you can understand the problem over here. The problem is that any type of request you get, you have to first check the state. Ki, is it requested? Is driver assigned? Is it en route? And there's a lot of if else happening over here. Does everyone understand the problem that I'm talking about? Does everyone understand the problem that I'm talking about? Anyone has any question about the problem that I'm talking about? No? Okay. So we know that for every request that comes, we'll have to check the state and make a decision accordingly, right? And this is not just one case. They can be a lot of cases for this. How would you solve such scenarios? Should I give you more scenarios, or do you want to try solving this first? Do you want to try solving this? If I asked you to solve this, I don't want a lot of if else with every request that comes. How would you solve this?
It's a case of state pattern.
Okay, suppose none of us know state pattern because we have not discussed it so far, right? So how, like, say in terms of, solid principles, right? All of you know solid principles. Let's say we do not know any design pattern. How would you try to solve this?
Something similar to abstract factory, having different object of requests and having different object of your states, and then separating out the implementation, like something combining the abstract factory and command pattern, something of that sort. You have a director which will talk to both the objects based upon the request type and the state, current state, and then based on the objects you'll do the needful, something of that sort.
Okay.
Uh,
Anyone else would like to try? Yeah, tell me.
It can be a type of strategy also, right? Like
yeah, I
checking
was
for the
thinking strategy
Yeah,
because I can list out all the different, like instead of algorithm, if I am not going with design pattern, but solely for different kind of solid principle following, then probably based on the different states that we have, what actions should we take? I will call them like different strategies, and based on the state, I will call which strategy is needed.
So what
I
will be your
follow that one.
classes? Suppose this is the problem. What will be your classes? Can you tell me the classes?
Will we have a state interface?
How many, like, you tell me, you guys are designing. I am not doing it.
Actually, I will create an interface with all the methods that are possible to operate on, and then we will create a different objects implementing those like interfaces. And when a request comes in, basically because of an polymorphism, the corresponding request will go to that object.
Okay. Let's not talk in abstract terms. Tell me exactly what classes will you have. Exactly.
so we'll have a request processor,
Okay.
and that will be going. That can be segregated into concrete request processors according to the strategy that we want to follow.
Okay, so what
So
class should I?
basically, sorry. So we can have the request processor, and that can be divided into two parts, like one book request, one is cancel request. And those two classes will also be the interfaces. And then from that, we can derive the concrete class.
Okay. Let me say this again. So if we have
But
a
in
request,
that case also there will be a requirement of if else case if you are like
Correct.
separating.
so if
We
there is
can have a request processor has state, something like that.
a request processor has a state, so it has state. You are saying like this,
Yeah.
and now state will have what? It will have, say, different states. Now suppose there is a driver assigned state, and they can be, say, what are the state that we talked about? Request state, en route state. So request state and en route state. Does this make sense to all of you? That now this basically request processor will have this state, right? So this is an interface. So it has a state. Now, depending on the state, you can go like state dot handle. And each of this will have its own handle.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Make sense? Handle means, say, handle cancel request. This makes sense, no, everyone? Yep. This is nothing but state design pattern. You guys already designed one design pattern yourself. So this request processor, this thing is called context.
So your context will also have the request object, right?
So it will have state. So yes, it will have request. And inside request, what you are doing, you're essentially doing state dot handle.
Yep, exactly.
So this is nothing but state design pattern. You all can just Google state design pattern UML. You will find exactly this one. So you basically should feel very confident now. Even if you do not know, solid principles, you know more or less what is the problem that you're trying to solve, you will be able to do it. Yep. Gives you a bit of confidence, I am guessing. So
One quick question, right?
Tell me.
State dot handle we are doing inside request processor, right? Not inside request. Like request, if it's a function, then so your request processor will also have a request object.
Request object, not object. Okay, let me draw the exact UML. So there is a state, and then there are what? There are concrete states. Concrete state A. It will also have handle. So this is what? This is abstract method. All of you guys are pro now, right? Like all of you will come up with interface yourself, and you will say, okay, concrete state A, concrete state B. There is handle over here also, and more concrete states. So what are we following? We are following OCP. How are we following OCP? We can add more states and we won't have to make any change outside, right? We can just handle it in its own way. And depending on whenever that state comes, we can probably, that will be handled by itself. So we have a context class. Inside this, there is a method which is say request. Like whatever method is called that process the request. Like not request, say process request. Does that give you better idea? Process request.
How does this handle relationship between the states? For example, one state can only occur before, or for example, state B can only occur before. There's a relationship between the states.
Then we would probably talk about chain of responsibility and all of that. Right now, we are not talking about that. We are just talking about there are different states and I want to handle them differently. That is the problem that we are trying to solve. If it is key this, after this, then we would probably go with chain of responsibility, right?
This looks same as strategy, right? They're also in the parent class, we are using that like that handle, which are like.
I agree. This is the entire reason I did not cover this, because it is more or less the same thing. You guys will be able to tell yourself only. That is why I did not cover it. But since the request came, key cover it, because it's very common. So I was like, okay, let's do it. But you guys can solve it. It is more or less trying to do the same thing. What is the problem that it is trying to solve? It is like, yeah, you can say, in strategy, what do? We use different algorithms. Here we are using different algorithms based on its state. So behavior is changing based on its internal state. So that is why it's a behavioral design pattern that is dependent on the state. Make sense?
I just wanted to confirm one thing. Basically, I have implemented state pattern in elevator system. In that case, I have used the state pattern for elevator and door state, door differently. In that case, like suppose I want to like communicate between like door state and the elevator state, because suppose an elevator is moving, I don't want the door to be opened if someone is pressing the button open. So I just want to confirm whether all that communication happens through the context object only, or is there some another mechanism?
See, you would need another mechanism to handle that, right? You can either do it in context. You can either do it in context or you can do it outside. But what is going to happen is that you will have to check that what is the state. So when you actually create this state, you should know whether I'm creating this one or this one. Can I handle this or not, right? So
basically, like suppose I don't want to like do this, like basically inside the door class, a door state, I don't want to like do whether the elevator is moving or not, like whether I don't want to like concretely check whether what's the state, elevator state. I just wanted to like have a function which calls the context object some method which like tells whether the door can be opened or not. So I have implemented that way.
So when you create the state at that time, you'll have to talk about, right? Okay, how you're creating after this, after what. Because right now what you're doing, we are just talking about how would you change the behavior based on the state. The problem that you are saying is I want to make sure that this is the state right now and the other should not be called. Like, so if you're doing this, like for example, in fact, if you're saying say door is closed, so that is the state. So you will handle it in a particular way. And if that is what is the problem actually? What problem?
I am asking like, because the one state is dependent on some the state, because the door can only be opened door state. Actually, I'm managing the door state in a state using state pattern.
How is it dependent on the other?
Because the door should not open while the elevator is moving in between floors. So it should only be opened when it has reached the floor. So in
you
that
will
case,
go
like
the
inside the
events.
door state, it should only open when the door, when the floor, when the elevator has reached a particular floor. So in that case, what is the current state of the elevator? On that basis, the door should only be opened. So I'm just asking that
Okay, so it
because I
depends on
have done
when.
this through context object only.
So you can do from context object only, but there it is dependent on the state, right? What are your different states? Can you tell me your different states?
Basically, it is idle state. Elevator state is idle state,
Hmm.
moving up state, or moving down, or has reached the floor,
Correct. Moving down
or
has
reached the floor.
reached, right? So
Yes.
you can handle the reached one, like only then you will open, and in these there will be no open.
And in the door state is also like having door opening, door closing, door opened, and door closed state. Suppose there is a method that is inside the door state pattern, there is open method. In that case, like I have to check whether the like elevator state is idle or reach. In that case, only I will be able to open the door. So I'm just
So you
asking
should
whether
put
that
the
delegation should be done through the context object, because otherwise I will have to like have a state in elevator state inside the door state. That was like coupling, doing a coupling state to state.
I don't mind. See, the thing is, if you are putting the check in context only, then what is the whole point of doing state design pattern? Your open logic should, your handle logic should be inside the concrete state, right? What is the whole point of handling it inside the context and then doing it? I guess, see, I don't know your entire design, so I will not be able to comment directly. Can you share your design with me on Discord?
Ma'am, actually, yes, ma'am. Actually, I have pasted the repository there, GitHub repository in the
I will
docs
check
section.
it. I'll check it.
Okay, okay.
Yep, cool. Let's quickly look at more examples where we could use this so that, it gets clearer for everyone. Like what he is talking about, elevator, right? So when you want to do some operation on the elevator, you would want to check, like, for example, he is saying moving up, moving down, right? So the request that is coming is say open. Now you would want, so if there is open in this, in different states, if it is idle, you should be able to open. If it is reached, you should be able to open. If it is moving or up or moving down, you should not be able to open, right? So when a request comes, you will have like different checks over here. So when open request comes over here, you are just going to suppose mark it that, okay, it is supposed to, but you're not going to actually open it, right? So they can be different states and you will handle the request open or close or something accordingly. They can be more, yes.
Like here, basically, when we are in the open state and where we are in the moving state. So what we will do with this open handler is that we will leave it empty in that state, right?
There is no open handler. There is idle handler, there is moving up handler, moving down handler, right? There are state handlers. Now inside each handler, there is like, so basically there's open handler inside each state, concrete state, right? I hope I'm clear.
Yes. Open handler inside each of the states.
Correct.
And for some states, open handler should not do anything
Open.
because,
Yes.
right? So we'll leave it empty there.
So basically, instead of, you can think of it, instead of leaving empty, we are just, maybe you will log it that, like, open request came, but you are not going to open it actually. So you have to make sure that when the request comes, nothing happens actually. You should not be able to open. Because
but in a way that violates that interface segregation, right? Because we are enforcing every state to implement interfaces which they don't need.
In this case, you can say it like that, but the case is such that you do not want anything to happen.
Not really, right? So you can have an open command coming in when your elevator is moving. So no one is stopping you from pressing that button, right? So the request can actually come in. What you do with the request is actually important, right?
So
So the trigger
open implementation. So here there will be an open abstract method. So is if there are, so let me make this. So if there is a state, there is a moving up state, there is moving down state, there is idle state, correct? And all of them have their own open because there is open abstract method over here. So all of them have their own open. But in idle, you will actually do the opening. Over here, he is saying you are not going to do anything because you're moving up and moving down, but you're still forcing them to have open. Because yes,
No,
you
right.
have open.
So
No,
the
it's
way,
not like forcing it to
yeah,
open.
right. Let
See,
me,
the thing is when you're moving the elevator and somebody does the open. So in that case, inside the open method, you should have a thing call key. Okay, at this time, don't open the door. Like
correct, correct,
that kind
correct.
of algorithm. Yeah.
Maybe
You can
lock or
say
maybe
like
some alarm or something, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Something
or
with,
maybe display on something key. Okay,
yeah,
cannot be opened right now.
yep,
probably like your point that it violates the I principle. That would have been valid if, let's say, if this request comes or doesn't come, like the function has nothing to do with this request, then probably your point would have been true that it violates the principle. But right now, even if this request comes at any state, it has something to do with the current state, right? Like whether it should open or not, it depends on that state. So in a way, it is not violating the principle. It should know which state or whether it should open or not, isn't it?
correct.
Yes. So just a follow-up question here. So what? Yes, I know this implementation. So what I did rather than this, for example, I tried implementing a vending machine. So what I took for state design pattern is a map of the initial states, and then there is a vector of basically the triggers and the next state. So basically, I pasted in the chat. So basically, there are only in this state machine, there are only set number of triggers for every state you're in, and they can possibly lead to a final state. So in that way, this type of thing wouldn't happen that you would have to handle open for a moving state. You're getting my point. I pasted in the chat the data structure I've used. So it's a map of the initial state. And then I've defined some
I
state
got
translations.
lost. What is a vector of pair of triggers?
क्या पढ़ा? चावल था?
Tanmay, we all know you're eating dal chawal, but okay, cool. Yes.
So basically, state is a like a I just pasted in the stat. It's basically a list of the states that you can be in for a vending machine specifically. You can be idle, accepting money or product, and basically then there are triggers which are also states of basically these are the states that you can basically go to. So is this chain of responsibility or like, because I was confused by your earlier thing that basically by defining translations between the states, I'm basically converting it into chain of responsibility.
I did not understand that what is vector of pair of trigger and state. Can you explain?
So basically you have an initial state you're in. For example, a vending machine can be in a certain bit of states. For example, it can be machine idle, machine accepting money, or something like that. Then there are actions that can happen. For example, insert cash button is pressed or coin cash is inserted. So basically the thing, this map is a map between the initial states, and then there are a vector. Then there is a vector which basically has two things inside it: the basically the action which has happened and the final state this leads to.
Okay. But according to me, see, don't you think you're making it very complex? Instead, because for example, even if it is idle, you are saying ki I can have a few triggers. In accepting money, I can have a few triggers, right? That is your point that you're trying to solve.
Yes,
And
correct.
I want only these triggers for this state, and I want only these triggers for this state. I guess that is what.
Yes, correct, exactly.
But see, the button is there. In real system, anyone can press anything, right? Even if you don't want to do anything, they can press anything. So you'll have to essentially check ki, is it present in this vector? If it is present, then take some action. Otherwise, don't take some action. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
I would have to check if this is a valid action which can happen for this state.
It is okay. I'm not saying ki it is wrong, but my why I would say ki this is a better way to go about it, because even if you don't want to do anything, you might want to say display ki the state is currently this, or we are accepting money right now, and suppose we are logging, we want to do some stuff, right? Always there'll be something, because there's a trigger that has happened, something has pressed, mostly would want to log or do something around it. Correct? So that is why it is better to keep it generic. Plus, what will happen is that for every state, you would have to maintain what all triggers can you have, then you would have to maintain this next state. It will just become too complicated. You would have to keep putting inside this vector, then you will have to keep checking the states that, okay, if this is the trigger, change to this state. If this is, it is okay. I'm not saying it is wrong, but I'm saying this is a lot more complicated.
Okay. I thought it violated that ISP, but no, I think fair point regarding that. Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, what you're looking for in here, if I'm not getting it wrong, is you want a state and then you want a chain of responsibility after that, right? Every handler in state will actually know what is the next handler that he has to assign duty to, right? So you're basically your state, I state, right? The state interface will be having the next handlers for the, I mean, your concrete state will be
Yeah.
having
So
the
my
next
state
handlers.
is not an interface. It's just a simple class, basically.
Should
What do
be
you
an
call that?
interface though, right?
Yeah,
And
the thing is he's trying to do is once I do something triggered, it is goes to the another state and then it does something. But the problem is
Correct.
when you are at a particular state, the other unwanted things can happen. Like somebody can, like it is said, somebody can press something else. Then we have to take care of this. Like it's right.
so you can either combine chain of responsibility and state over here, but it would get too complicated. I do not think we should be discussing that right now. Can I first discuss a few more scenarios where you can use a
Preeti,
design pattern for those?
Preeti,
Yes, tell me.
yeah, just before you go forward, I have a question. Can you scroll up
Mhm.
where you drew the UML? So basically, I wanted to know that when you are talking about state here, this state is a request in itself, or it is something which is inside a request object,
It is
a
not
member
a
of.
request. It is like, how do we explain state? It is like, it is a state actually. You can have different states, right? Like I can,
So,
like for elevator, it is like a behavior or what is the current state. Basically, elevator can be moving, it can be idle, it can be moving up, moving down.
Kind of like an observable.
Observable, you can say observable, but it would, I guess we are just confusing it. Just say ki,
so actually, I'm thinking in the lines that let's say a request comes up that okay, booker like drive like cab cancelled. Okay, this request is now coming up. Now, at what point of time is my state coming into picture? Like, how is it connected to a request?
so you're right. So think of it as a characteristic. That is the word that I was looking for. Like your ride can have a characteristic. It has a state, right? That it can be, say, requested. It can be driver assigned. It can be en route. It can be
So that
cancelled.
means when I'm designing my ride class, there it should be it should be a data member, like
Yes.
a class which is state.
Yes. So it has a data member that, okay, when you request, the state is changed to requested, right? So now if some request comes, how you're going to handle it is going to be different. Then when the driver is assigned, you're going to update the state. You're basically updating the characteristic of the data member that, okay, now the state is driver assigned. Make sense?
Okay. Can we not think it on the lines that let's say a different request in itself is coming up, and I'm checking that this request is of a type, say, driver cancelled, and then accordingly I'm calling its request processor or handler. That is also on the same line, right?
Can you repeat that?
But in that case also it's the same case of if else, doing if
Yeah,
and
it will
else.
be a lot of if else, and if you have to add any other state
No.
going forward, it will be
I'm just saying, no, not using if else. I'm saying using the same pattern. If let's say instead of state, I have a request. If you can go to that diagram below this one. Yeah. So here I'm saying that instead of state, you have request and then handler corresponding to that request.
Okay,
So
so
when you're
okay, let me tell you. Okay, so if it is a cancel request and if it is, say, book request, right? Now in the cancel request, you would have to check that is driver assigned. Then I will cancel it in a particular way because I'll have to notify the driver. Is the right? So in the end, you will end up having if else, right? Based on the characteristic. What is the state of the ride right now? What is the characteristic of the ride right now? I understand what you're saying, that if it can be different requests, but for even different request, you will have to check that how, like, what is the state of the your ride right now? right? If the driver is assigned, then you would have to cancel, you would have to notify the driver. Get the point?
Okay, got it. Basically, we'll have to check for other assigned
Characters.
characters to that
Data.
request also.
Yes. Yep.
Kirti,
Yes.
from code point of view, I got confused. Like, what
I'll
is?
show you the code. I'll show
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Okay. Give me 5 minutes. I'll
Okay.
show you the code.
Kirti, one more thing.
Can you give me 5 minutes, guys? I guess a lot of discussion is happening for no reason. Give me 5 minutes. Let me take more examples and show you the code. Then I'll take more questions. Okay. Does that sound okay? Please. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. For example, let me just give you few more examples. Like, for example, if we are in a game, right? In a game also, suppose this is our Mario or any other character. Now it can also have state. Like, for example, idle, it is say walking, it is say jumping, it is say attacking something. Now, when you say something like some animation or some movement from here, if say I am jumping right now and if I say ki start walking, so from jumping and the start walking, the way it is handled is going to be different. If you're attacking and if you start walking, the animation will be different. If you were already walking and I'm saying ki start walking, it is going to be same. If I was idle and if I start walking, the animation is going to be different, right? Think of it like that. Ki I am this character, I am just standing. If I say ki walk, this is my handle. I'm going to start walking. So the animation is just ki, okay, start moving. Versus if I am walking and if I am saying walk, okay, so I have to do nothing. If I am jumping, I have to first complete my jump, and probably the animation is going to be different. That probably I'll just start walking. You get the point? There can be another, there are a lot of examples. Like, for example, Swiggy, Zomato order. So there can be different states of the order, right? We had discussed this. There can be order placed. There can be order confirmed by the restaurant. They can be preparing. They can be out for delivery. And they can be delivered. So when we do say cancel, right? Simple example, cancel or track. Say cancel only for now. So when we cancel, if it is placed, maybe we will allow cancel. If it is confirmed, maybe we will check with the restaurant and see if it can be cancelled. If it is preparing, I will say it cannot be cancelled. For out for delivery, if it gets cancelled, what are you going to do? Are you going to return back the food to the restaurant, or are you going to let delivery boy only take the food, or are you going to still deliver? Even if the person said ki I want to cancel it, what are you going to do, right? And if it is delivered and you're trying to cancel, how is that even possible, right? So you will have to check depending on what is the current state of that order. You will have to make the decision, correct? Similarly, elevator example we already saw. Then there is chat also, right? Suppose in chat, my status can be, say WhatsApp, okay? So I am using WhatsApp, and my status can be say online, it can be say away, it can be say busy, or offline. Maybe my net is off, I am in flight. Okay. So if I am busy, suppose I will not get the notification, the way message comes. So my handle is ki receive message. When this comes, if I am busy, the notification is not going to ring. Versus if I am away, I might have received the message, it might be like delivered, but say there will not be double take, or I will get the notification later. Here I will not get the notification. If I am offline, nothing is going to happen. If I am online, I'm going to probably update the last scene also, or something like that. Correct? So depending on the state, I am going to handle that. Okay, what is the status of this message? When I receive the message, I'm going to update accordingly. Let me quickly share my code also. So I guess it will be clearer. Give me 1 second. I have too many codes open. Give me 1 sec. Yep. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Back to basics, back to design pattern. So if we look at the C++1, so there is write state. Now write state can get 2 requests. Okay. It can be handle request, or it can be just a normal request, book write, and they can be a cancel one. Now there are different states. There is write request, there is driver assigned, there is en route. So there are 3 states. Because this is abstract, all of them will have to have their own handle, right? Ride has been requested, ride has been cancelled. Here also handle, cancel, right? All of that is there. Then this is the context. This is basically a request processor that you guys were talking about. So there's a ride. So this has a state, correct? Now you can keep it as aggregation or composition, that is like, but it should be has a, right? State should be has a. So there will be set state, there will be request and cancel. Now in request, you will actually call state ka handle request. So by default, whatever is the state, I'll be able to set it. Like for example, let's run this and see what happens. So, okay, I'm just running my Java code for now. So here you can see, first I just made a write, right? So when I create a write, the initial state is ki it is requested. So when it is requested, I will say ki, when I say request, right, I'll say ki, okay, it has been requested. Or when I cancel, I will just cancel it. Ki, okay, now the request is cancelled. Versus if driver is assigned, when I set the state to driver assigned, I will have to, I will say ki it is already assigned. So I cannot assign you again, right? And in cancel, what I will have to do, I will have to also notify the driver. So there are two things that are happening. Ride request is cancelled and the driver is notified. Or for example, some money is also cut for the customer, right? Similarly for en route, if it is en route, ride is already en route, so okay, this is fine. But here while cancelling, maybe I will say it cannot be cancelled because you're already en route. Does it make sense? Similarly for Java, let me show you the code here. So this is my ride state. So this is the interface. And then there are concrete classes, right? So there is ride request, there is driver assigned, and there is en route. And then I have ride has ride state. I forgot to push the code today. I will push it right after the class. Okay. Then there's ride state, there is ride. Then there's ride requested state, set state, request ride, cancel ride. Then there is a state demo. And inside that, this is basically my main. And I created the ride, same thing. I just ran this, same thing only. So I've written both C++ and Java code. You can refer to it. Now, if you have any questions, tell me.
Kirti, in the Mario scenario, like we can have two actions or two state changes going on at once. Like we might be jumping and attacking or something like that. So how do we handle that? Like having two states, like going from idle to two states. Like if my point is clear.
Then maybe you can have like a combination state. Like for example, it can be walking, jumping, or something like that. Like that is the simple way of handling it, right?
There are less complex, like it's a simple way, but it will have many combinations, right? Then
that is there. So then it will become like nested sort of key. Multiple states are required. Then I'm not sure. Then this might look like a force fit. If you want nested, how would you do it? Okay, let me share my iPad screen. Anyone has any ideas of how you would handle this?
What's the question?
Let me
I
share.
think a decorator, because it has because basically it is jumping attack is also an attack, and basically what it'll do is it basically increase or decrease the damage of the attack. So basically it's taking the original attack and basically you're jumping on top of it.
That is a good point. Yes. So if you can do that, yes. So
yeah,
he's
decorator.
yes, you're right. So he is saying ki if I am jumping and I am attacking both, I want to have some other scenario. And if I am walking and suppose I'm walking and attacking or jumping and attacking. So there can be two things happening. So maybe we can use decorator, but it is more of how you're structuring, right? So after structure, how you will behave. So every structure will have its own behavior. Makes sense, yes. So you have say Mario. Now Mario can be, say, you can decorate it with, say, jump, and then you will have another one, attack. Or you can do it something like this.
I have a question, right?
Yes.
So attacking is actually, so jumping, walking, and being idle are three states, and attacking is something that we are doing, right? Attacking should not be a state, no?
Attacking can also be state. No? You're actually attacking.
So attacking is the idle attacking only, no? So
Not necessary. You can be attacking while jumping, walking. You do
No,
this.
no. So that is what I'm trying to say, right? So attacking is the request, and your state is being idle, jumping, or walking, right?
No,
While you're
attacking is also
that will
a
be the
request, right? Like all of them are a request and a state, right? Like jumping is also a request, like jump, and then that's a state also. Since similarly, attacking is also a state. And as Kirti mentioned, that between states there will be animation. So once we transit from one state to another, there will be a specific type of animation. So my question was, if we are doing two steps at once, like most of the time we play Mario,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
try to
So
jump and attack and something like that. Yeah.
let me say it how I see it is. So you have three states: walking, jumping, and being idle, right? And now you have four requests. One is attack, one is jump, one is move, and one is do something, right? How do I say it? Move, walk, being idle, and attack, right? So these are the requests. Now each state has its own request processor, right? So let's say I'm jumping and I press attack, then I am saying that I have so inside the jumping state I have a attack handler, right?
Then may tell
So
me this, ki if the person is attacking for say 2-3 seconds, right?
okay,
So for those
I was
3
going to ask
seconds,
it.
what is the state?
so that's being idle. So state changes, right? So let's say I am moving and then I press attack, 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 right?
Yeah.
Ah,
So you
So
need
for those
to keep
3
a track,
seconds,
right? You cannot keep on like
I'm
calling
actually,
the
I
different
think like
actions
it's the
3
same
times.
case as I have done with the elevator also, that because what I have done is that elevator state is different and the door state different. In generally in complex system there are different components and different components have different states. When we are consuming, we can like combine, we can give the output from by combining all the states together. In this case
so
also, we can have a state like whether the person is idle, moving or walking, and there can be a separate state of attacking also, so we can combine both the states together. That would like I think solve the problem in this case.
Vishal, in your case, elevator, the door was separate and elevator was separate, right? So
Yes,
those can
yes.
have different, but here there is only one Mario that is walking and attacking.
yeah, can
Yes,
I
but in overall system, actually there can be multiple components and there can be multiple states. What we
Yes.
have, what we can do is like we can all together we can combine all those states together and output the we can consume the output. Like basically we can have like whether the person is in a walking state or like jumping state, and we can keep a separate state in the form of whether aggression state, whether the person is attacking or not. And then finally we can like use both the states together to to print to show that character on the screen. Like if he is basically only jumping in that state, we can show jumping state, and we can also check for the aggression state, and then depending on that we can like show animation whether the person is attacking or not. So in that case we can combine both the states together.
Okay. Anything else anyone would like to add? Tanmay was saying something.
yeah. Can you draw a small diagram? So basically the same
We'll
state diagram.
discuss the state design pattern for another 5 minutes because I do think we are complicating it too much. But okay, yes, tell me.
Can you design the state pattern for 3 states, having walking, jumping, and being idle? Right? Walking, jumping, walk, jump, and idle. Right? Idle. And then you have the context that is basically a request processor. Right? So now the thing is that you say that I want to do jump and walk, right? Or jump and attack, right? So no, so it has attack, it has a walk, it has jump, and it has being idle. It has all 4 commands, right? These are the requests that can come in, right? I'm talking about the keyboard request here. So now the thing is that in any game that we play, it's not a possibility that you can put in 2 requests together. You can do walk and then attack, or you can do attack and then walk. Sorry?
I muted him. Go on.
Okay, so let's say you have, right? So your request was that you're walking, right? So you press the walk button. Now you're walking, and then your state is walk, right? And then you
give me 1 sec. See, the point is what you are considering is that in any game, you can either walk or attack at a particular time. You can you can press one of them, but in actual game, what happens is you can do both together. you can actually walk and attack together.
So I
That-
do have, right? Attack, handle attack in my walking state only, right?
Yes, but in terms of state, so this is one way of handling it and it is fine. His point is ki if you are attacking for say 3 seconds, if you were walking say for 10 seconds, and in between that, if you're walking for say 2 seconds, you are saying that there will be no difference in the state for this time and for this time. But his point is ki he wants another state itself. It is okay. I'm not saying ki one is right, one is wrong. I'm telling you his point that he wants the state to be updated over here, that the person is attacking and you want to handle it accordingly.
But in my example, like I have mentioned, whether you can do what you can do is you can keep two different states together, like differently. Like it's a moving state, and in the moving state you can keep walk, jump, and idle. And in the aggregation state, you like aggression state, you can keep like whether the person is attacking or doing nothing. And when you want to display on the screen, you can on the basis of that, or whether the person is jumping, idle, or walking, you can show in the X direction, and whether the person is like in the aggression state or not, he can like you can show whether the person is punching or not. So I think you can do that way, like that is much
But
more
then
easy.
you are basically adding if else, right? That if this
No, basically, but in that case you definitely have to do like, because in complex system there can be multiple like separate states.
I understood
It
what you're
can.
saying, Vishal. I understood what you're saying. I'm just saying ki what he is trying to do is he wants a different state. I agree ki you both are saying ki we can handle attack like this. So he just wants ki there should be different attack. Rahul, is that correct? Is that what you want? Hello.
But from an animation point of view, I think there will be a separate animation for like running and attacking together. So that can be like a separate state by itself, because as an animation point of view, you might need a different animation, right?
Yeah, so if suppose there is animate, correct? Now animate will be different. So if in all of this there is animate, so you will have to check that either one can be key. Suppose in this state, you can be probably have, suppose if it is only attack with all of these states, then probably you can just have a data member is attacking. I'm just giving you a common way of handling it, like a simple way of handling it. And inside animate, you can say ki if it is attacking, if you want to add one if else, if you know ki if this is the only case that is going to be there, you can do it. He is saying ki if there are multiple cases like this, then it can be state of states, then it becomes nested. But see, the core principle, I guess everyone has understood. I know you will be able to design some or the other way this right and wrong. Can we move ahead for now? Because I think everyone is on the same page. Everyone is trying to solve the same problem. Yes, can we move ahead? I guess we are spending a lot of time on this. I can see a lot of yes in the chat. Shabir was asking me something. Shabir, is your doubt clear or?
Yes, Kirti. When you showed the example, code example, the dot is clear.
Okay, great. Okay, can we all please move ahead? Let's try to do something new also today.
Kirti, I have one doubt. Like usually we have states in enums like idle or walking or something. So here we have like concrete states here, na? So like we have to use factory for mapping, or how will we take?
Factory
Usually
for
we keep
mapping, you mean
enums.
for creation?
Yeah, for creation of these different concrete state classes.
See, when do we use factory? If you want to see, basically, if you look at my code, I'll just quickly show you my code. Give me 1 second. See, in my code, what I've done is here when we do the ride, no, here. So when I create the ride, I've created a new request, right? And when I am setting state, I've just deleted the previous one. I'm creating a new one. I'm creating a new state. So you can either do this, and if you think you need a factory for creation, like you want to give the job of creation to factory, you can do that as well. The point is you will have to create the new state object every time you update it, and you'll have to delete the last one.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, guys, let's move ahead, everyone. I'll pick up more questions later. Okay, so there was one good question that came, fintech design. Although I've covered Zerodha, interestingly, you know, I did Zerodha low-level design live on my YouTube. And that was the point when I decided that I'm going to start taking classes, because I thought, you know, I can teach well. And that is when I conducted my first LLD boot camp. So that video actually led me over here. And I was watching it today and I was surprised ki I have done it so well, because the video is 1 hour 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and I've actually written the code, I've drawn the UML, and I've taken the questions of live chat. So if any of you feel that, you know, you cannot do enough in 1 hour, go watch that video. I have covered the entire thing in 1 hour 20 minutes. I actually surprised myself when I looked at it. But okay, so now the point is ki today you have to design Zerodha. Now I am sure that many of you don't even know what Zerodha is. So suppose you do not know, okay, I am the interviewer, you try to design it, and I am going to keep telling you, okay, how have I designed and what is the correct way or wrong way to go with it. So tell me ki, okay, my question is ki design Zerodha, what would you do? What would you do? The first thing that you would do.
End user.
Come up with requirements, buying,
so
selling stocks.
Okay, so let's discuss requirements. So my first, my actor is customer only. Basically, customer is buying and selling. Okay, so customer is my actor. And what will the customer do? It will buy or sell stocks. And second thing I want to do is see my portfolio. Guys, please mute yourself if you're not speaking. See portfolio. And secondly, after saying portfolio, see probably I have some particular stocks that I want to see. Okay, that is called watch list. Watch list is basically what? That I want to watch these particular stocks. So like in YouTube, you have this thing, no? Ki I want to add these particular videos as my favorites. And you can create different playlists also, right? Similarly, you can create separate playlists. Ki these might be the stocks that I might want to invest in. So maybe consider it like your favorites. And you can have different playlists, so different watch lists, okay? Portfolio is basically your holdings. Okay, now tell me what else to do. Next thing.
Trade book. What is holdings? Kirti, can you tell?
Profit and loss trade book.
So okay, firstly, what is holding? So you must have bought some stocks, right? So what stocks do you have? What is the current pricing? So basically, what do you have presently? Like what stocks you have, what is the current pricing, how much money you have made, like that. And then there's also reporting which comes with it, which means you want to see your profit and loss that she was talking about. Cool.
So holdings is basically the stocks you hold and their current price.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, what are we going to do next? Let's say these are the only requirements I want to design for. I'm not going to design for any other requirements. Now, what are we going to do? Any class that I can get started with?
Started with stock class.
Write the main function first, no?
Main function first. So basically, stock class, see, if you start with stock class, you do not know exactly what all things you want to do. So let's see what do we want to firstly achieve? Like, you know, what is our interviewer expecting us to do? Does it make sense?
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Is everyone okay with it? Okay. What do you think I should be doing in main?
Calling of Assad.
Creating a customer and then adding few stocks.
Okay, so I have created a customer, say a user. So first I've created a user. Then what have I done?
Adding few, first would be search stocks based on stock name.
So let's say we have some stocks. Okay, so in requirements, yes, there should be search stock and all of that should be there, right? But for now, let's say we are able to create a stock in our main. Okay, then what else?
Add them to watch list.
Add to watch list. Okay.
Buy, sell.
Buying and sell.
Buying and selling. So basically, I should be able to create an order. Yes?
Correct.
Yep. So this is what we want to be able to do in our main. Everyone with me?
Yeah.
We are creating a stock, or we are
For now, see, actually our system should have some stocks and we should be able to search and all of that. For now, from our main, we'll just create one stock and we will try to create an order for that stock and add it to watch list. Cool. Like, see, for demo, for interview, obviously you cannot have like a bunch of stocks, you will add them, then you will do search and all that is not possible. So in your main, you will just create a new stock and you will say, I will place order for this. What is the crux of the problem that we want? What is the main functionality in Zerodha? You should be able to create an order. So this is the main thing that you should be able to do. You're like, if someone asks you what should have been done, like in an interview, you should have finished one flow of creating an order. It is okay if you black box a few things, but you should have created an order.
So Kirti, creating an that is like buying a stock or what? Creating an order.
So order can be buy sell. So let's say let's see what all things can be there in an order. Can we talk about that? Everyone with me, no? Any questions so far?
One quick question.
We can
Like,
also add alerts here.
Alerts and all can be there, yes, but it is not as important as the other things. So let's consider this as secondary requirement.
So this is for the watch list stocks, right? Alerts.
It can be for watch list. It can also be for other sorts of notification. Like I'll explain what sorts of notifications can be there. Can we discuss what is there in the order? So that I think some of you might not know.
You can put a limit.
This is a question. See, if you guys do not know what is Zerodha, it is a question you should have asked your interviewer by now. What happens when you buy or sell? Okay, what happens in an order? So, okay, tell me what all things will be there in an order class. Suppose, for example, what all things will be there?
the number of stocks, the
stock
that is-
name,
yeah,
the stock name, the number of
the
units,
price.
the current price, and what is the proposing price probably.
Okay.
For how much you want to buy or sell.
What else?
Order state.
Type
And
of order,
which
limit
exchange?
order, or
NSE or BSE.
So one order has like one stock or it can have multiple stocks. Like how is it generally?
Good question.
One order can have only one stock, isn't it?
multiple units of a single stock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
multiple
multiple
units.
units of a single stock, yeah.
But yeah, you should clear all of this with your interview. Okay, for those who do not know what exchange is, quick revision, like quickly telling. So there is basically exchange outside. It's a third party, right? So what is this? This exchange can be a what? Like what are the different exchanges?
NSE and BSE.
And NSE.
Yeah.
Bombay Stock Exchange, National
Stock Exchange, yes. And then the middleman is basically the Zerodha. So this is basically your stockbroker. All you have to do is this client will say ki buy, sell, and you will pass it to exchange. And your exchange is the one that will actually do the buying and selling. And you are basically just a middleman. Not everyone can actually talk to exchange. There are only few licenses that are given. And Zerodha is one of those apps that has the license to be able to deal with NSE, BSE. Pratik should also have order status. And also, one of you said market and limit, and one of you said this current price, proposing price. So just a bit of more information. So when you place an order, right, you can be placing an order. There are types of orders that you can place. So there is something called, so one is exchange type and one is transaction type. So this is transaction type, buy or sell. Are you buying or are you selling, right? Then there is exchange type, which is BSE or NSE. Then there is also order type. What do I mean by order type? Pratik is saying delivery and intraday. Let's assume that we are not dealing with intraday. Let's say that we are talking about simple exchange only. But what is going to happen is that you can say market value or limit value. What is this is? And basically this is a bit of finance that I'm also telling ki, suppose you are asked this question, you should be able to handle it well. So just a bit of extra finance knowledge. It is okay if you do not know this, don't freak out. Okay, if it is limit, it means suppose the current price is 100. Okay, if the current price is 100, if I say market value, I'm going to buy or sell at whatever is the current market value. Say if it is 100, I will buy or sell at the 100, whatever is the current market value. So in that case, you don't have to send any proposing price, correct? You will have to sell only the market. You will only have to send, okay, this is a market type. Versus if it is a limit order, limit means that if it is at 100 and if say the price is going down, you will say that I will buy it when the price becomes 98, right? You will want to buy it at a lesser price. Or suppose if the price is going up, you can say that I will buy it when the price reaches 102. So now exchange will do it for us. We will just say ki my limit value is say 102. So whenever the price will become 102, the exchange will do this for us. The exchange will do the transaction and will send to us ki okay, done. Everyone understood the difference between market type and limit type? So this is order type. Any question? Any question?
Exchange should be part of your stock, right? Not the order. But order. So order is a implementation. I mean, order is something that you're doing over a stock, right? It's an action.
For everything.
So
So in that action, you can decide you want to sell at market value or at limit value.
No. I was talking about the exchange, not the type of order.
Yes. But also there are some stocks that can be in both BSE and NSE. So you might want to do both.
They have different stock objects for both the.
And that is something we would have to discuss that you want. Okay, so for those who are confused, so he is saying ki the exchange type, this should be in stock instead of order, because for stock is basically for BSE or NSE. So my counter question was that some stocks can be there for both BSE and NSE. So his reply was that I will have different stock objects if it is for BSE or NSE. If you do that, then okay. If you don't do that, if you have same object for BSE and NSE, ideally it should be different, then you won't need this. It's a good point. Okay. Also, another quick last finance wala knowledge, then we will get to the design part. In a particular order, so when your order gets placed and all of that, suppose you are saying for one particular stock, I want to sell, buy or sell, say 100 stocks. Say for, tell me a good stock name. Tell me a good stock name.
Nestle India.
Reliance. Okay. Nestle.
Okay, Nestle. Okay, cool. Okay. So for all of them, so basically I'm saying ki I want to buy or sell 100 stocks. Okay. Now it is possible that I said limit value of 102 and only say 60 got sold. And the rest 62 are still on hold or it will still get sold. Right. So your order status can also be partially fulfilled. And also note that in your, basically there can be different transactions behind a particular order. It is not necessary that all 100 stocks get sold or get bought in once. Cool. Okay, enough finance wala knowledge.
I did not get this last one because you said that order will have only one stock, right? And all of them will have.
It will have one stock, but
One
number
stock
of stocks. Number of stocks. So suppose I'm dealing with Nestle, I will deal only with Nestle. But say I want to buy 100 stocks of Nestle, number of units. So it is possible that I got only 50 and 50, like it is possible, or maybe I got entire 100, but I got 50 from one buyer and 50 from another. So 50 from one seller and 50 from another seller.
Which is why there is difference in prices of those stocks.
They can be difference in prices, or maybe they were say I am buying say 200 stocks and no one is selling 200 stocks. Maybe there are 4 people who are selling stocks, say 50, 50, 50, even if it is at the same price or a different price. The point is that there can be multiple transactions to fulfill any particular order.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Kirti, are we also dealing with holdings here, like seeing the portfolio in the client?
Let's leave it for now. Let's leave portfolio and watch list for now. Let's try to design for buying and selling. Okay. Now tell me what all classes will we have?
We have stock inventory.
We will have stock inventory. Okay. Let's not deal with stock inventory, search, watch list, all of that. I want to deal with order. So, okay, I will have a stock for sure. What else should I have in stock?
Stock name.
We have market order. We can say.
That will be in order, right? That it is market or is it limit?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So there'll be name, there'll be price, there'll be say exchange, as he said, BSC, NSC.
Volume.
Number of units.
For a stock.
Volume.
What is
Yeah.
Performance
do
chart.
have volume, right?
The number of stocks available in market.
Yeah, the market.
in the market? Okay.
We can say stock position, like what is the current position?
Okay. What do you mean by current position?
We can say that who is holding that particular means user can how many stock user can hold, like this way. Like user can hold maximum how many stocks.
Acha. Okay. So okay, position something. Okay, I do not know that many details. Sorry, but okay, maybe there is something like how many maximum number of stocks can you hold? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
But is that the property of a stock?
Yes.
Maybe I don't know the finances so much.
So basically, you cannot just
More
go
like
and buy
stock
the entire
manager.
range.
Okay, it is fine. There are some things inside the stock. It is fine. Can we focus on the order part? Tell me how would you design the order part? There are some things in the stock. Now what other class will I have?
Order status.
Order. Okay. Why just order status? Why not order? Like firstly.
So I mean under order, right?
Under order. So let's create. Okay. Under order, what all things will be there? We discussed transaction type, which is basically buy, sell. Then there will be order type, which is what? What is order type?
Market order, limit order.
Yes.
Even we
What
can
else?
say stop loss order, like when it will reach to something or stop,
Yep.
like reach to we can say to
That
that
comes in
point where
market
we
value
can't
only.
reach. यहाँ पे हम कभी एक लास्ट पॉइंट पे पहुंच जाए, यहाँ पे हम मतलब उसके लास्ट पे हम बेच नहीं सकते उसको, ऐसा कुछ.
So there are different types of orders. There's market, there's limit, there's stop loss. You are correct, but it is fine. Let's not get into so much detailing. Let's talk more about the order flow. Okay, how would we design? We have understood the basic. This will be basically an enum. You are correct. There will be different types of orders. Okay. Then there is exchange. Then in order there will be quantity. There will be price. You guys already told all of this. Anything else?
Buyer and seller.
There will be no this. There will be buyer and seller. Okay. There will be buyer and seller. Instead of buyer and seller, shouldn't there be a list of transactions? As we said, there will be different buyers and sellers. There can be different sellers for a particular buy request and different buyers for a different particular sell request. Yes. Make sense?
Order
Yep.
state.
Order state. Yes. Order state.
Why is this order having a list of transactions? Like one transactions make order, right?
No, that's okay. See, suppose I am selling 100 stocks. Now 50 of them might go to a person A and 50 of them might go to a person B. So there are two transactions that have happened. Right? So you will be able to see that there are two buyers.
I think that is
So
called
this
order
becomes
part.
two orders, right? For
Order
each.
part.
So you have placed only one order. Internally Exchange or Zerodha took care of it, and there were multiple transactions for it. So they will tell you, okay, this transaction happened, and they'll update it.
So
But
we have
this
the
system is
access
not
of
this
what
information is not visible to us, right? Like when
yeah,
we sold, then
exactly.
who booked it, right? So this
That's
is
not accessible as far as I know.
It is. So
It is
there
accessible.
you will be able to see transactions. You can actually open the reports and you will be able to see the different. Any
And
questions?
yes, how much the platform is charging for this order?
The
Can
platform
that be under order? Yeah, the charges of Zerodha basically.
Yeah, it could be.
charges of Zerodha. Okay. What do I call it?
Isn't that a constant?
Platform fee.
That is something which is constant.
It's more like brokerage, right?
Yeah,
Huh,
platform
Correct.
charges we can
That's
say.
a percentage, if I'm not wrong. So I don't think we need to set it separately for an order.
Yeah, it should not vary order by order, right? It's depend on
yeah, it
your
was adding
value or
Exactly, that's
something like that.
platform dependent. So I don't think that.
It is percentage, right? So maybe
Yeah, but
if you
it
want
doesn't
to
depend on
calculate-
stock, isn't it?
Yes, so maybe you want to calculate and keep it. It doesn't depend on stock, but suppose the price. Why does it not depend on the stock? So based on the transaction that you're
It
making.
depends on values. It depends on
Yes.
values. Like
So
let's
if
say
I am
today's
making
stock.
a transaction of 1,000 and if the percentage is 12, then it is 120, right? So I will have to have that 120, keep it. Suppose I want to I want to calculate and store it. You can calculate on the fly on front end also.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, got it.
Cool. Okay, what else? Okay, what other classes will I have? There is order, there is stock, basic classes.
Order manager.
They
We
will
have
be
account
order manager.
information. Account information we can say, admin or person.
Transaction.
Okay.
Even before account manager, I'd like to extract out the order processing from order, right?
Yep.
User.
Can we focus on the order part first? We will focus on the user part, the stock management part, and all of that later. Let's focus on the order flow. Because what is the purpose right now? We want to support what? Buy and sell. So don't get confused. Like LLD, it is very important to focus on what you're trying to do. Don't get confused with, well, let's start talking about users. Let's start talking about stock inventory. What is going to happen? You will just deviate from the main thing that you want to do. Okay. Someone said order manager. What is going to be there in order manager?
List of orders for a particular user.
Yep. List or map of orders. Let's say list of orders for a particular user. Okay. So you want to do something like user ID and list of orders. Instead of that, let's just keep all the orders in a map. And for a particular user, so whenever the user classes will be there, inside that we will have a list of order IDs. And from here we can get, right? So let's keep a map of, say, order ID and the order object.
So in this situation, can't the interviewer ask that we'll be having an infinite number of orders? So don't you think that is inefficient way?
So see, okay, again, coming to what Paris was talking in the starting, see, order manager corresponds to what? It corresponds to essentially a database where we are going to store all our orders, right? So consider this like talking this as the instance that will be talking to our DB. So you are essentially going to keep all of this information in the DB, and in your DB, you might have like a map like this that, okay, the primary key is going to be, say, order ID. And based on this order ID, you will be able to get some details that you want, right? But you will convert that to an order object inside your code, and then you're going to use it, right? So it is okay if there are many, many orders. How it is being handled is going to happen inside DB. So in low level system design, you don't have to worry about that.
Kirti, let's say the user wants to check all the orders placed by that person. So how does
for
that
that,
actually
what
work?
is going to happen is in the user, there will be list of order IDs, right? And from here, we can get that when we say get order information, you can get order information from this order manager.
So when a user places an order, user talks to order manager, which places the order and returns the order ID to the user, which is going to be saved in the user. Is it?
Yep.
Okay.
For now, can we all please focus on creating the order? Okay. We have talked about stock, order, there is order manager. What else should be there?
Transaction.
An order processor that would have different
Order processor or request handler.
processing the requests.
In order, we can say limitation is there. Order limitation.
Atul, again, please focus on the placing the order part.
Okay, sorry.
There is order processor, place order. Then what else?
So it will have basically a subclasses, place, limit order, place, different sort of orders, right?
Okay, now this is a good point. Now see, how is it different for us, for Zerodha, to handle market order and handle limit order? See, as people who have learned a lot of LLD and all of this, we might want to create different classes, right? For market order and limit order. But also remember that we don't have to actually fulfill the order. Who is going to fulfill the order? The exchange is going to fulfill the order for us, right? We just have to store a type. Are we going to actually do any processing based on if it is market type or is it limit type? You should ask this to your interviewer. If that is something that you will be doing, then it is okay. Then you can have different processors, say market order processor and limit order processor. For now, let's say ki there is nothing different that you're going to be doing. Let's say ki it is same, and because you are essentially not doing anything, right? You're just passing into exchange, and exchange is going to do it for you. So for now, it is
So
okay if we keep a
we're
type.
sending a webhook or something?
Sorry?
We're sending a webhook to place the order or something?
Yeah.
So in terms of HLD, yes, we'll be sending the webhook, but let's focus on LLD. So yes, we have to talk to Exchange, which is a third party. So what would you do? There is a processor, but you want to talk to Exchange, which is a third party. So how would you do that?
Adapter design
Kirti,
pattern for different exchanges.
won't there be differences for sell and buy processing while processing the order?
See, again, yes, you are correct. See, let me explain. Just like I just
I
said,
think it will just be a what we say that attribute, isn't it? Because it's just the middleman. So it is not doing the processing actually. It is forwarding everything to the BSC or NSC to do the process. So we can use the same handler, but just a different attribute will do the trick, isn't it? Like whether it is a buy or sell.
That would, I think, actually
if
be
it's a
dependent.
buy or sell order, we'll have some processing at our end as well. So like subtracting the stock from the portfolio if it's a sell order, adding it to the user portfolio if it's a buy order. So the
No.
processing has impacts elsewhere on the system. But yeah, considering only the processing, it can be a simple system.
Yeah, I'm talking only about the like receiving request part. How we process it is different.
Okay, I have one question to all of you. There is one very, very important point that you're missing, which is extremely important while placing any orders, especially in fintech systems. Can anyone think of it? It is extremely important.
To first check if we are eligible to place the order at all.
Yes. Not just eligible, but there will be a lot of things. So basically, there has to be one order validator.
If
So
we
you
have money?
Yes, exactly. If you have funds, or if you have funds to buy, like suppose in Zerodha, or do you have enough stocks to actually sell, right? Or so for example, you want to check like security, or you want to check that, okay, do
User
you have the premium subscription or something like that, correct? So there will be validator, and this itself is in real systems. In like, for example, Amit has worked on in Upstocks. So he used to actually tell ki in validation itself, it's a huge module in itself, right? So there will be like multiple validators who will be firstly validating for say funds or stocks. There will be separate validator for security. There will be separate validator for premium subscription and all of this. So this itself is a huge topic for especially fintech. So think of these things whenever you are placing an order. You have to think of validation, correct? So if I think of the system like as such, when we get the request, now when I get the order request, where is it going to go for the, like which class is it going to hit? If I say ki place order, where am I going to?
Order manager.
Order manager. Okay. So I'm going to go to order manager, and this guy is going to go to order validator and validate it. Now, suppose this guy also has to check the funds and the, sorry. So this order validator has to check the funds and the stocks and all of that, right? So there will be, say, user manager or system over here. And this guy will talk to the user manager or system. So once it is done validating, it will talk to the order processor, and then this will talk to something which will talk to the exchange. Before we talk about that something, my question is, what will be this relationship between order manager and order validator, and order manager and order processor? Tell me the relation between these. What, according to you, should be the relationship between order manager, order validator, and order manager, order processor? I can see a lot of hazard. Rama is saying aggregation. Why aggregation? So do you want a validator to exist without order manager, or do you want a processor to exist without order manager? I can see some people saying composition now. So does this make sense? I have also made it composition. Does it make sense that there will be composition? Yes. So order manager will have order validator, order manager will have order processor. Yes. Now there's one more thing. Ki HLD people were talking about webhook and all of that. Now there is stock exchange, right? But in LLD, there will be basically one class that should be responsible for talking to the stock exchange. He was correct. Tanmay, I think, mentioned that it can be adapter. But my main point is that there should be only one class that will be talking to the stock exchange, not just for order processing, for further things also. And don't you guys think that this should be singleton, that I want only one instance talking to the exchange?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can have a mix of both, right? Because you have different sort of exchanges also.
Yes, correct. So you can have different exchange connectors. You can have NSC exchange connector and you can have BSC exchange connector. You can have basically two objects, but you would want to restrict key, okay, one object or two objects. You would not want key for every order, I am going to create a new exchange connector. Make sense?
Kirti, one question. You said order validator and order manager that has composition relationship, but from HLD point of view, can order validator be a different microservice?
Okay. Okay, now there's a lot of confusion that is happening between LLD and HLD. Now let me make one diagram. Okay, so this is my system. I made some class. So there is order manager. There is order validator. There is order processor. Okay, you wrote classes like this. Now what is going to happen is you started from a monolith that I have everything in one system. Your system became big. Now what you're going to do, you're going to pick this up, take this, move it to another computer. It will become a microservices architecture. You will call the function as it is, but now what is going to happen is you're going to probably do a GraphQL request. This is a bit of HLD stuff, but you're essentially calling a function that is there inside this. So if it was a composition, what you would do is ki now since it has moved to microservice, you would probably have, say, details of that where is it? Correct? That would be the change that you would have to do while moving it to microservice. Who is managing the entire state of it? The order manager. Now you can move the entire thing. When you write modular code, you can pick up a class and move it to another microservice. But when talking about LLD, when talking about low-level system design code, think of it like you have entire code in one system. It's a monolith system. How would you design your classes and interfaces? Forget that how the networking is happening. Forget that we are talking to a third party. Forget that how we are going to connect to the third party. There will be webhook, there will be networking. Forget all of that. How are we going to talk between the two classes? That is HLD. We will talk about all that. But for now, what is the problem at hand? How are we going to structure our classes? Make sense?
So I have a question, right? So if we create a single object, I mean, if we use singleton, then I'll have to write a lot of code for handling multi-thread, making it thread safe, making it safer in case scenarios when I have my code using multiple processes and all that stuff, right? So why not use, I mean, if I give this argument that I'd be okay using multiple objects of the adapter class to communicate with different webhook servers, then isn't that a right thing to say?
See,
and I'll have a webhook server URL associated with each one of them.
Okay. Say if I have multiple classes, firstly, you're talking to a third party. Okay. Just like, okay, answer this. Why do we, so this order manager, when we have it connected with a DB instance, why do we make it singleton? Can anyone answer that? Why do we make this order manager singleton? Because it is talking to a DB instance. But why do I need to make it singleton?
So if I'm not wrong, it's
Retain the ACID properties.
But ACID property has to
so
do with the
that,
DB, not with LLD here.
like the data
security,
doesn't
right?
become inconsistent. So,
Yeah, handling the race conditions.
Handling the race conditions. Okay, what else? Any other?
Security, because your DB is another instance.
Okay.
So
Okay, if you are saying that, then my question to you is that your exchange is a third party. You're talking about security, race condition, all that with your DB instance, but with talking with third party, you were saying you will have multiple instances. And imagine every instance for every order, different instances talking to like third party.
Actually, ma'am, stockbroker system will fetch all stocks and their current price from the stock exchange. So it should be singleton only.
So that is also there. Ki it will fetch prices, correct. There will be multiple things that we'll do. But when you're talking to a third party, wouldn't you want a single instance?
I
Yes,
think
it
mostly it's like a facade which is talking to a third party API. So let's say if NSE or BSE is giving some interface to us or API class to us, then we are also going to maintain one class like a facade which is talking to the exchange. Is it correct?
You guys answer now. What other reasons do you think it should be singleton? And
I think, what he meant was the processor is talking to the facade as if it's talking to NSE BSE. So yeah, that makes sense that if we make it singleton, then like it's a combination of singleton and a facade. And the reason for singleton is that it's like it's not secure to have multiple instances talking at once to NSE for an order.
But my question is, if I have an iceberg order, so what happens with an iceberg order is you execute like 5 orders. Then if there are some other orders, you'll execute them. Then you'll execute the next 5 orders of that iceberg order, right? So in that case, if I have a singleton class, how will I fulfill that?
Can you repeat that? I didn't get the
So
iceberg part.
iceberg orders are basically if you have a huge chunk of orders. Let's say I want to buy 10,000 shares of a stock, right? So I just cannot buy 10,000 shares at once. So what I'll do is I'll buy 1,000 shares, and then it will be like 10 orders of 1,000 this way, right? And each order set will have a different price for me. So I can buy 1,000 orders at, let's say, price A. Then I'll buy the next 1,000 orders at price A plus C. And that A plus C would have been caused by my earlier 1,000 orders and the other orders that I have. So how do I handle that case here?
So, Tanmay, I think this processing is being done at the exchange side. We are placing the order as only a single order.
Yeah, right, right. So this processing has been done at the exchange side, but my question is that I am the one who's sending data to the exchange. So if I'm sending, let's say, 1,000 orders first, and then I'm sending, then I actually want to send orders of, let's say I have 2 orders that were made after this. There were 3 orders. One was iceberg and then 2 simple stock orders, right? So my 1,000 orders are processed. Now the other 2 simple orders will be processed, and then again my iceberg order should continue to process. How do I handle this scenario?
I think it should be handled in the processor, right? Like, how are you dealing with the iceberg orders? I think all the like the different orders inside an iceberg order can be treated as an order, and the price will be different, but they are essentially orders only. So that the logic, like how you are sending those, that should be dealt in the processor, right?
Tanmay, to answer your question, it can be an async task. So we need not wait for the task to be completed. Let's say you're putting an iceberg order first. You just make a request and you don't wait for it. You can just put the other request like async.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
Okay, guys, one more thing to keep in mind that there will be high level design, there will be load balancing happening over there, right? Not all the requests are going to go from one microservice only. Like there will be multiple microservice, and the number of requests that go is going to be streamlined from HLD as well. So whenever you talk about LLD, you do not need to worry about the number of requests that are going to go, because that is something that we can figure out in HLD, how you're going to do it. Right now, when you have like one microservice, now the number of requests that are coming to that microservice itself is limited. Now, the number of requests that is going to the exchange is also going to be limited. So you can have a singleton. But this is a question that does come when we talk about singleton. But then it is also true that, that is taken care in HLD stuff. So you can just focus on this singleton and you can go ahead with it. Also, can you all see my code? Let me just show you the code once and then we can pick up.
Basically, I just wanted to mention one thing. Basically, generally, whenever a database driver or some kind of connection driver is written, in that case, generally what happens is they actually maintain a pool of threads which handles multiple requests at a time. So that is how the things are handled in that case.
So pooling is also basically singleton only. You have like quite number of instances, like instead of having one instance. Like I talked that there can be two instances per exchanges, right? Per BSNS.
The simple
Yeah,
answer for
we
having
can
this
say
singleton
there
here
is
is
executor framework is there. We can fix the number instances. Like we fix 5 instances, and with the help of 5 instances, we can use all these.
Yep. Go on, you were saying something. Okay, cool.
hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I was telling that the main reason you want singleton here is that you want one object to be created and create a connection with the third party NSC BSC, and you don't want to having created this connection again and again for every order, so that is expensive for creating that object. So that is one of the reason you would want that as singleton and use that object again and again for that connection with the third party.
Okay, let's look at the code
makes
once, then we'll come back to this. Yes. Okay, so this is the exchange connector. I guess now everyone can recognize the singleton code, right? That this is static getter, mutex, private constructor, static instance, right? So this is the one that is going to send the order to exchange. So this is the one that is going to talk to the exchange, correct? Now, if we look at our main, if I open my main, here we had done this only. Remember when we talked about what is going to be in the main, we created a user, we created a stock, then we created an order, and then there is order manager for which we are going to place the order. Remember we talked about that order manager is the one we are going to talk to. So this is also the facade, the singleton facade that we are talking about. So if again, this code is uploaded on GitHub, you can go check it out. In order manager, I have order validator and order executioner, correct? So this is composition because I've created it inside the constructor. And when it gets place order, what it does is it has the validator. So it validates and then it executes. So there are basically two steps to it. First, it validates, and if the validation happens, then there is execution. So inside validate, what is happening? Inside validate, basically you are just checking the transaction type. So here you can argue that, you are checking if else, there can be different states. But right now I put if else because there are two states only, which is buy and sell. So I have done it like this, but if you want, then you can have state design pattern also. I'm just showing you that, okay, different places, what all you can think about. Okay. Coming back after validation, you will go to the executioner. So once it validates, I'll go to the executioner, and then executioner will talk to my exchange connector, which will actually place the order. So one entire flow is finished, and we started this design discussion after 10, like we were doing 10 till we were doing state design pattern till more than 10, and we did it in like half an hour, right? We discussed everything. You guys also participated in the discussion. So I hope you can understand it in terms of interview. It is possible to do the entire thing in 1 hour. I have actually coded this thing live and discussed everything live in 1 hour, 20 minutes on YouTube. And I've written the entire code, including pragma ones, hash include IOStream, using namespace, STD, everything from scratch. And I've run this entire code in 1 hour, 20 minutes. So now you should feel confident that if you have enough practice, if you have understanding, you can do it easily, and you can make one flow run at least in 1 hour. Pratik is saying, yeah, this was simple. We focus only on an order, nothing else, which made it fast. Exactly. That is what you have to do in an interview. In meeting scheduler also, we discussed it in detail, but if you just do one flow, that, okay, I will just schedule the meeting. It is possible in 1 hour. You can write the code, you can make it run. And if you have time remaining, discuss more design patterns that you can do, work more on the UML and all of that, but make one flow running. Yes, the crux of the system, you should be able to understand. Any question in this system for now?
मैम अभी we are discussing like singleton, right? तो अभी जैसे singleton मुझे आज ही क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था, मैं actually given the interview, तो बोल रहे थे कि ऐसे ऐसे ट्रैफिक आ रहा है तो singleton यूज कर रहे हो तो इससे स्लो नहीं हो जाता? like we have billions of requests coming, right? तो
Okay,
singleton
so
यूज कर रहे हैं तो उससे ट्रैफिक का थोड़ा मतलब स्लो नहीं हो जाएगा उससे?
Let me
Probably you need
translate
to.
1 second before you
The
answer. Let me
LLD
translate it to 1 second. Let me translate it to English for those who did not understand. He is saying since it is singleton, so what about traffic? If there are a lot of requests coming, then there is a lot of requests going to one instance. Now who is going to answer it?
Yeah, so I was saying that I don't know your specific situations, but in any case, when the question comes that whether it is going to be slow or not, the best anti question or like against the forward and question which you can give the logic is whether the speed matters to you or whether the security matters to you. If the security matters to you and you can compromise a little bit of speed, then singleton design makes much more sense, isn't it? Because the singleton design, yeah, please go ahead.
I think what I would do is I would keep a queue inside a singleton, and behind that I will create a pool of objects that would handle each respective request. So in that case, what would be happening is that I have a single facing controller singleton, and behind the scene multiple objects would be handled separately. That's basically a pooling of requests. In I will be adding all those requests in the queue, and behind the scenes all those requests will be processed by individual instances of objects.
Any cross questioning? Any other doubts?
Can you explain the security aspect? How if it is not singleton, it is not secured? That I could not get.
Who is going to say?
Yeah, I can go ahead with it. So by security, I mean, let's say when you are doing different kinds of operations where you are talking to a third party. So let's say you are talking to a payment processor or to a DB instance. In those cases, you want only one thing to work at a time for that particular DB or that for particular external unit, right? So that way I'm saying in this.
No, question is like multi-threading और singleton कैसे आपस में कैसे use कर सकते हैं? Singleton you are using like DB connection के लिए ठीक है, it's good. But now question is multi-threading or singleton, how we compatible with this part?
That is what I was telling is that कि आप जो है background में जो singleton object है उसके अंदर you can keep an queue of all the requests that needs to be served, and behind the scenes उसमें क्या होगा, you can create a pool of threads जहाँ पे सारे requests third party के through वो like handle होंगे, like if you want to process those requests would be handled individually, like separately, not through a singleton object directly.
So, Vishal, are you saying with a singleton object we can have multiple threads in it which handles these
No,
requests,
you
or we
can
have pool of objects itself?
So if you are creating a singleton object, it doesn't mean that all the subsequent containing objects would also be singleton. So what I mean to say, you can create a pool of like requests that needs to be served.
Okay. Okay. I mean, at least what I am thinking is if we have one singleton object, as in just a singleton instance that we have created, and if the same class can have multiple threads, that is one way of actually kind of looking at scale scenario, or we can have pool of objects instead of having just a singleton object. I mean, it's going to be expensive if we create an object to handle the request for every request, but I mean, we can actually create pool of objects is what I'm thinking.
So there are two. So I also got confused with this. I'm not sure if what I'm gonna say is right, but how I think I understood it is as when you have a singleton object, right? So let's say what is the request you're making. At the end of the day, you're just making an API call, not an API call actually, a webhook call. And then that webhook call is basically saying that please execute this order for me, right? So your work is done here. You're not processing anything here. You're not processing the order, right? So what you do is, let's say you have a request, you parse it through your system, and at the end of the day, you have a singleton object that will eventually make the request, handle request or whatever it function it has, and it returns, right? So that object is occupied for literally a millisecond of time, right? And then it is on the webhook to send that request to the other, let's say your broker, and then grab a. So now what happens when broker returns something, right? So there will be another flow, another processor. So when a request will come to the webhook, now webhook is your client. Webhook is not your end layer. It's the starting layer. Then it gives your order back to some client, and then we have another process that happens, right? So what happens here is, first thing is, you're not having a single instance, right? You're having your code deployed over multiple instances, and each instance is having a layer that is having an end object that is talking to the webhook. So the reason we need a single object is because we are talking to the webhook layer here, right? So we don't want to have that URL in multiple objects, because this would actually increase your chances of DOS or DOS attacks that can happen. So that is why having a singleton is important. And regarding the speed, will it be slow or not? You're not doing any processing in the singleton. So making an API call does not take a lot of time, because we are not even waiting for the response. Making a webhook call, sorry again. So, I mean, it does not actually matter. I mean, it does not hinder your speed, if I'm not wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Kirti.
In cases can be like that, in case of like if you consider a system where maybe like you can consider one scenario where there is a manager, okay, and manager decides to do something, like suppose you have tell that you have to process that way. But in case you are having a multiple instances of that manager, what would happen is like some of the things would be processed in this way and some of the things would be processed in another way, because you have to sync that algorithm at all the manager levels in that case if you're creating multiple instances of that.
Basically,
So,
you don't want your state to be changed. You want the state to be throughout. In that case, you use singleton.
so can we have a singleton instance which has multiple threads associated with it? And is it a good design choice in this case?
We have singleton with multiple threads.
What
With
does that mean?
insights.
So we create a singleton instance, as in the class is a singleton pattern that we are using. So we can create only one instance. But that class also implements or inherits the thread, and it can actually create multiple threads.
How does that help you? Because at the end of the day, request that is coming to your singleton object is a single request, right? So there's a single order that is coming to you. That you're not getting two orders continuously. There's no parallelism here. Why do you need threads?
There can be multiple.
So
like
even if you
coming-
even if you create two threads, what is the
Like it is better to create like a pool of instances, right? Like you can
Correct.
have say 5 instances that are dealing with say different exchanges, or one is dealing with getting the prices of the stocks, like that. In the end, see, the main point that I think Jellybean pointed out, that when you are connecting with a third party, in the end the third party will also not allow many connections, right? You'll have limited connections. Now for that connection, like if they suppose a connection that is there, then there will be one instance for that connection that will be dealing with it, right? So
Okay.
there will be limited connections that you will have with a third party. So viewing it like that also gives a lot of help.
Okay.
Cool. I guess, see, just read more about it. If there are any more questions, we can, but I think it is clearer. It is something good to think about. If you have any further questions, tomorrow is the last class. Please do come. We'll discuss the recommendation system, which will be our final discussion. And I want you guys only to drive the discussion, just like today. I hope you are liking these final discussions. I try to keep quiet a bit and try to moderate it as much as possible. I let you guys only answer the questions because I feel you guys are fully capable of doing that now, right? So thank you so much, and thank you so much for staying till like the end of the course. It really means a lot that so many of you have stayed till the very end. And please do fill the feedback form. Please do put it up somewhere on LinkedIn, Insta. Please help me get better reach so that I can continue taking more courses and I can reach more people. I have really worked very hard. If you feel that I deserve this much of your time, please do share it on any social media, or please fill out the feedback form. It will really mean a lot to me. Okay. Now go get good sleep, and let's meet tomorrow. Last day where I'm going to be eating your head. After that, it will be all Discord. So thank you so much, everyone, and I hope this has been. Yes.
Try my code once, please, and help me like in writing better code.
Can you please? Yes. Just
I've
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
actually pasted the
Uh,
link of GitHub in the doubt section, and just in case like there is something wrong, you can let me know where I can improve.
It's elevator system you have done, right? Is that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we'll check.
I will also check, and can everyone please
Basically,
check it out and help him? Yes.
basically what I have done is like instead of like suppose my elevator is on at ground floor and I've requested elevator at 10th floor. What I have done is like instead of going directly to 10, I've done is like every second the elevator would move one floor up. So I've done that part in that also.
and
Check it out.
Kirti, yeah, go ahead.
Like my doubt might be a big one. Yes, you can go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's related to not this course, a different one. So you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, Kirti, my doubt is regarding the holdings one. So, like, if we were asked to deal with the holdings part, so I get it that like it's easy to it's like a watch list only for the user. Like what he is holding, he'll have the list of that, and he can fetch the price from the NSE. But like dealing it here, should we like deal it as the client calling that singleton class and then returning the prices and setting the prices in the client itself for the demo, or should there be another like way of dealing in the interview?
So you are saying, okay, so there will be one class that will be say, so there's something called market depth, which is basically you get all the pricing of the stocks that is there in the market, right? The present values. So there'll be one class that will be responsible for getting the market depth. Now, either it could be talking to the same exchange connector, or it could be another connection with the exchange basically, but that will be the one that will be responsible for the updated prices. And whatever is your say watch list ka class, that will be talking to this market depth class that has all the latest prices, and it will keep fetching prices from that, and it will show that to the client. Does that
So
make sense?
He's
basically,
asking about holdings, right?
yeah, so basically we'll be modifying the prices. Like if we want to show the modified price, since we are not connecting to NSE, we'll have to modify it in the client itself and say like let's say the price has gone up to this part and setting it like that. So we'll be calling that depth class, setting it there, or will we be calling the singleton class and setting it like the NSE has it like this right now, like how it should be?
Are you talking about interview or like real actual code?
Interview.
Interview. So for interview, you're saying ki since we have done it like this, so you can probably create another connector, which will be like market depth, no? So it will be connecting to BSC, NSC, and then you can have this watch list wala class, which will talk to the market depth, which will talk to exchange. You can have like that. So client goes to the watch list class class goes to the market depth talks to your BSC.
Okay. Got it.
Kirti, in such cases, would it be helpful if we can leverage the observer design pattern where the exchanges themselves publish the updated prices or depreciating prices, and whoever is the listener, they like either the watch list or the client, they can maintain the latest prices.
Okay, so you can use observer, but instead of your subject being the third party, your subject should be a class that is connected to the third party. Like in this case, a market depth class is there. Now that is the subject, and whenever the change happens in this subject, there will be multiple classes that will be notified. Like say watch list will be notified, your portfolio will be notified, or your somewhere else. Suppose your reporting will be notified or something like that. We will have multiple classes. So you can use observer, but your subject should not be third party. It should be some class inside your system only, right? Because you are implementing observer.
So can we say that we are mocking the behavior of NSE using the client class and then updating it in the adapter or whatever the class that is connecting to NSE is, and that is updating the class where you have the map to the listings
Think
of
of
the.
it like a proxy that this is the one, like you are thinking ki this class is basically talking to the to the exchange. How it is talking, you do not know. You can consider it like a proxy. Yeah, mocking. Yes.
No, not proxy. Because in proxy, we are assuming that we are talking to that, but here we are not talking to NSE. We are making the client do the update of the price. you're not getting the updated price from NSE, right? That's a third party here. So that was my question.
Client
Like,
is getting from market depth, which is your like a proxy for your exchange. That is what I was saying.
He's just telling for the demo purposes. From the main only, we'll just update the price of the stock.
Yes.
That is what he's saying.
Yep.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, you can do that.
Is that what you're saying, Rahul?
yeah, I was talking about that. Like, we will be doing it from the client itself, right? So I was confused whether we should directly do it, and you suggested that we should have a class that is talking to that, and we should make that class update that.
You can do directly also, or you can do like this based on how much time you have. Like the code that I have pushed, I have done it directly, right? Like I've just created a stock and I've done it, right? So you can do it directly also for interview.
I got it.
Yeah.
I have another question. Especially when dealing with live platforms, for example, Zerodha's the prices are continuously changing, and for example, there are cricket scores. So, are there any specific design patterns which we have to consider while implementing such systems?
So see, usually getting the data from third party is like, suppose for Zerodha or for even live score and all of that, getting the score is like HLD, right? Third party, you're getting the score.
Okay.
But inside it can be like observer, because you will get it in one place and then you will, like, there will be multiple classes which will be affected. Like they will be reporting, like there will be your portfolio, there'll be multiple things that will happen, right? So, so as Rama is saying, it will be sort of observer plus PubSub. PubSub is going to happen outside, like in HLD, but inside in your low-level system design, it will be observer.
Yeah, I thought of observer pattern, but other than this, are there any other patterns which will specifically be used for this system design?
Nothing that comes at the top of my head.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Kirti.
Cool. Any other questions? Subhajit was asking something.
Oh yeah, it's just like one, what we say that comment I wanted to make. Why last day of eating our heads, 20th November is not so far?
Okay. Yeah, true. So it is exactly 1 month away. And please, in this 1 month, for those who have signed up for DSA also, like practice hackathon, ask questions. So consider this 1 month as your practice time for LLD and prep time for DSA, and relax enough, take probably a holiday and chill enough, because so that when I meet you next, again, we can grind for 6 weeks together. Yep. Cool. Okay. Have a very good night, guys. See you tomorrow. Please fill the feedback form. Please ask doubts on the Discord so that I can pick it up tomorrow if needed. And see you all tomorrow for the last day. Bye. Good night.